Hello from the Olympic Stadium. Welcome. This is the first event of the day, and this will be the first real challenge for these athletes. Italy's last success in the discus at the Olympics was back in 1948 in London. They got gold and silver on that occasion. I'm sure they'd be delighted for a repeat performance this time round.
Next, the athlete from Italy.
It's all going to come down to this, the delivery. Well, that's a new Olympic record, and there's delight across the face of this athlete, and quite rightly so. He'll be over the moon with the start that he's made to this competition. All of the hard work in training has really paid off.
Next, the athlete from Italy.
Here we are in round two. Well, from the coil to the explosion at the end, that's a massive throw.
9.1.
Everything technically right. Well, at the completion of that round, Italy are in a good position here. They're at the top of the scoreboard.
Next, the athlete from Italy.
Two throws gone, now onto the third attempt. Another brilliant effort over 60 metres.
With a distance of 66.23 metres.
A wonderful performance so far, and the results on the scoreboard are just as electrifying. It is a terrific, terrific lead that this athlete takes from here.
Next up, the competitor representing Italy.
Well, this is the fourth round when the athletes are fully warmed up, the nerves have gone. You expect the better throws here. It's another biggie, this one. Good stuff, very good stuff.
66.85 metres.
Well, here's the scoreboard at the end of that round, and it shows first place. Welcome back to the Olympic Stadium, a packed house for the final of the men's discus. This really is one of the oldest events at the Games. In fact, it featured at the very first Olympiad. Great throw, this one. Could be a long one. Well, that's excellent.
With a distance of
A grade A performance.
7 metres.
Well, these are good times to be following Italy in this event. That's another good performance. Let's have a look at the scoreboard where they sit in first.
Next, the athlete from Italy.
Well, having gone through the mental process, this athlete is now ready to throw. About the middle of the pack then, that last throw. Just about average.
25.25 metres.
Well, after that round, this athlete, much to the crowd's delight, is in the lead.
Next up, the competitor representing Italy.
Third attempt now. Good stuff this from Italy. Decent throw that.
Italy with a distance of 57.09 metres.
Italy are in first at the end of that last round. That brings us to the halfway mark.
Next, the athlete from Italy.
One of the key things to the technique of throwing a discus is to impart as much spin on it as possible. The greater the spin, the greater the gyroscopic stability. He'll be happy with that.
Italy with a distance of 48.22 meters.
Italy sit on top of the scoreboard. They are in first place.
Next.
This is the Olympic Stadium. Welcome. One of the most sustainable ever built. The lower bowl is set into the existing landscape, meaning less need for steel. Attempt number one then. That's over 50 meters as it lands.
Italy with a distance of 55.12 meters.
One round gone, and as the leaderboard shows, Italy are in fourth.
Next up, the competitor representing Italy.
Second attempt. Can he beat his previous best? I think he likes that.
Italy with a distance of 54.91 meters.
At the completion of that round, here's the scoreboard, and Italy are in fourth place.
Next, the athlete from Italy.
Crowd really starting to enjoy this. It's a great spectacle at the London 2012 Olympics. Well, technically, that was all over the place. That's a foul throw. Italy in fourth. Let's take a check on the rest of the positions.
Next up, the competitor representing Italy.
This is all about the speed across the circle before exploding to release from that right hand. Great extension in the throw. So focused in this performance.
5.54 meters.
Well, things going well here so far. Still just about in touch with the leaders. After that round, it's fourth place.
Next, the athlete from Italy.
The fifth attempt. All the technique is good here, but perhaps just not got quite enough power to get it up there with the leaders.
Next up, the competitor representing Italy.
Well, this is the final attempt for this athlete. Well, that round shows just how strong this competitor can be. The question is, though, is it a repeatable performance? Well, in the end, that was okay. I'm sure there's still more to come, though. You can see the disappointment in his reaction. This medal has been well earned and well deserved. The Netherlands take gold, Germany takes silver, and in bronze position is Portugal.
60.49 meters. Third, Portugal with...
It's a terrific atmosphere, and this really should bring the best out of these athletes. These athletes are so close in ability, you may as well throw a blanket over them. They must be at their best if they want to qualify for the next round. This athlete's had a great build-up to the games, and there's no reason why they can't push the envelope here. Well, dive number 1. This is a relatively tough dive. It's not the most difficult in the competition, but one that, if achieved well, then the points reward is there. A shake of the head in frustration, and that dive just reeked of mediocrity. Nowhere near this diver's best. Let's check on the replay. Well, how do the judges rate this performance? Well, here's a summary after the first attempts. Has to have a good dive, has to look at the rating of difficulty. Not the easiest and not the hardest dive that's going to ever be selected, but one that needs to be done right. Oh dear. Looks really good on the platform, but when it came to everything else, technique on this occasion just letting this diver down. And now it is over to the judges to get their view on this. Italy, 6th place after the latest round. Well, now it comes down to picking those more difficult dives as this competition goes on. Well, that was nice. I think that was all right. Still very much a work in progress, that last dive. Well, I think he knows he still has more to come. Here's the replay. Well, what about the judges? What's their view on all of this? Italy are in 4th. Here's the rest of the scoreboard. Well, so far things have gone to plan in this competition. It's not been great, but it's certainly not been terrible. But executing a more difficult dive here could make the difference. Well, he likes that performance, and quite rightly so. Here's the replay. Technically, not much wrong with that last dive, and I'm sure the scores will reflect that. Let's take a check on the positions then. Italy are in 3rd. Well, the 5th dive, and so many options here as to how hard the next dive will be. Well, this is quite hard, not the most difficult. Oh dear. Let's take a check on the replay. Well, here are the scores. Fourth place for Italy. Need to choose wisely here, because having only had an average performance, this could change the whole event. Well, not bad. Here's the replay. Let's see what the judges have got to say about that. Well, this athlete's delighted. Qualifying for the final was always going to be tough, but they've done it. This is confirmation of the final standings. Italy finished in third, and as the scoreboard indicates, they will move on. Qualification guaranteed. The final event of this session at the Aquatic Centre here in Stratford. The athletes are ready, 17,500 fans are ready. Let's get it on. Italy have a good history of success in the diving pool, but the question is, can that form be refound here in 2012? In the late 60s and early 70s, that was their golden era. A repeat of that here would be nice. It's going to come down to which athletes prepared the best for these games. Always good to get on the board with a strong first dive. Not massively difficult, this dive. Well, good elevation, nice tuck, but when it came to getting into the water, that was more of a belly flop, I'm afraid to say. Well, where do you start with that dive? Not the best, I'm afraid to say, and the judges will score it with that in mind. One round gone, and Italy are in 7th place. They need to pick me up here. Well, this is the moment where the divers have a chance to take destiny back into their own hands. It's a real key to pick a tough dive, but one that certainly is achievable. Good execution, and I'm afraid to say on this occasion that wasn't achieved, and there's huge disappointment on his face. Here's the replay. The twist was good, but after that, well, everything else just went wrong. A massive splash of water, and that's one of the telltale signs that the dive didn't quite go to plan. 7th at this stage, not a great performance, I'm afraid to say. Got to pick it up here. Dive number 3, looking for redemption after that last effort. Needs to execute with this dive. Oh dear. Well, that just wasn't good enough. Here's the replay. Let's see how they rated it. Well, here's the scoreboard, and it shows Italy in 7th. Fourth dive. Must select a good one here. Well, this is a gamble, calculated. This is going to be really tough. Well, that last dive from Italy isn't the standard you would usually expect at this stage of the competition. Let's have a look at the replay, and I have to say, from the takeoff to the entry, things didn't quite go to plan. Well, the judges will have their say now. Let's take another look at the scoreboard then after the latest round in the men's diving. Well, round number 5, and this is when these divers can look to some of the more complicated routines. that wasn't the best, I'm afraid to say. Barely a ripple of applause from the crowd. Well, let's have a look at the replay. A difficulty of one only because of the incorrect dive. And I've got to say, that was poor. Italy are in 7th place at the completion of that round. So many options to go for. Well, it's ambitious, bold and brave. Let's see whether he can pull this off. Well, that last dive wasn't the best. The technique all wrong on this occasion, I'm afraid to say. Here's the replay. Got everything in, but just over-rotated. Big splash. And the judges will again take marks off for that. Well, that last dive didn't quite come up to scratch, and that'll be reflected on the scoreboard. Not a disaster at all, but nowhere near what this athlete hoped for, and that's why he looks dejected. One last look at the final standings then, and China, confirmation here, they win the gold medal. In 2nd place and silver, it's France. And in 3rd place, bronze for Mexico. Let's have a look at the overall medal tally. That's the end of the events for today, and now it's time to look ahead towards tomorrow, when we'll have a series of new Olympic champions.